Hey guys, and welcome back to a Premier League recap. Yes, we are starting a Premier League recap every week. We are gonna listen to you guys in the comments. If you guys comment down what you guys thought of the games, we're gonna try and bring some of your comments into this version here. I'm doing this with my brother, so he doesn't have a camera yet. Hopefully he'll get one. But make sure you like, subscribe. I do rebuilds. Let me know what you guys think of this edition. We're gonna crack on. Let me get my brother on. All right, Igor, how are you doing today, man?
I'm all right. How are you?
Good, good. Happy with the results this week. So let's get cracking straight onto it with Friday. Honestly, I forgot there was a game on Friday. So Friday the 15th of August, the first game of the Premier League. It was a banger to start off the season here with Liverpool vs Bournemouth. Um, what did you think of that game?
I mean, I thought that was quite back and forth. I'm surprised Liverpool looked so frail. They tend to have very good defense. At least that was the case. This game they conceded twice, so not a great start. But Bournemouth is a good team, and Semenyo is actually a really interesting player. Been doing a lot of for Bournemouth ever since for the last few seasons. I think last season he was a great player for them as well. So it's a very, I think it might be a bit scary for Liverpool, even though they pulled out the win. It was two late goals, so it was a bit like iffy. But in general, I think we are off to an interesting start. And Bournemouth is looking good, and Liverpool maybe their defense might be a bit of more shaky than I perhaps thought.
Yeah, I think when you think of Liverpool, their signings, Frimpong obviously is a very offensive player. He's kind of like Trent, but I think he's more attacking even. So I think their defense definitely got worse. They're trying to sign Mark Gahey and another defender as we are talking, so they might get some more backup. But yeah, they're I mean their defense isn't as good as it was, so they will concede more. And they look pretty open in this game. I mean, Bournemouth had a lot of chances. Liverpool were a lot more clinical in front of goal, though, with a really good display from Hugo Ekitike, having a goal and an assist. The man of the match in that game. Very great debut for him. And Semenyo, like you said, great player, great player. So yeah, maybe teams should start looking at him because last season he had a great season with Bournemouth. This season he started off 2 goals already, so very scary one for Liverpool fans. But I'm sure they're happy they got the result at the end of the day. But it was a fun first game of the Premier League. 6 goals. That's what we want to get started with.
Yeah, I mean it's an interesting game. And Bournemouth obviously they lost their backup, their defenders, both of them. So they're playing with a new, pretty much a new pairing in the back line. And Liverpool swapped up their team. I mean, Szoboszlai and McAllister. I think as holding midfield, they're as midfielders. I don't think they're too defensive. So I think that's where the problem is. I think one of those has to be sacrificed for a more defensive player like Gravenberch.
Yeah, or Endo. But yeah, let's move on from that game. That game was, I mean, I did predict a 3-1 win for Liverpool. Um, wasn't quite 3-1. It could have been, but 4-2 at the end of the day. And then I think probably one of the most boring games. I mean, it was a pretty boring game between Aston Villa and Newcastle. There were a lot of chances for both teams, but none of them were like, oh my god, like clear-cut chances. I mean, there was one chance where Elanga was literally through on goal and he tried to shoot instead of pass to Gordon, and that probably cost them 3 points because it would have been goal. I think he wanted a debut goal, and yeah, maybe a little bit of selfishness there, which I'm sure his coaches were talking to him after the game because they could not break down the Aston Villa defense even with 10 men after a Konsa red card. I mean, it was a justified red card. Uh, but yeah, what do you think?
I think this. This was a very interesting. I think these teams matched up against each other last season as well, and it was pretty much a smash by. I think it was Newcastle against Villa. It's around 6-0 quite early on. I think in the first few rounds last year. It's interesting to see them match up against each other again, and obviously Newcastle was a much better attacking team in this game. Aston Villa, the red card obviously tipped the game away from them, and the draw is probably a good result. But they definitely were I think they were they had less shots on target, less shots on goal, and all that stuff. So Villa, this might be a bit early, but I think they need a few new pieces. I think maybe a few more attacking pieces. I think they did buy a few people, and they need to slot in there. Yeah,
Yeah,
Newcastle obviously Isaac is out, so I think that might have been the reason why they couldn't score. They could have won this game if with Isaac, I imagine.
yeah, I agree. I think with Isak they would have won this game. I think they missed that clinical striker in the box because they had some good chances, but they just couldn't put it in the back of the net. Um, Good game from Aston Villa's goalkeeper as well. I want to say props to him. Um, uh, yeah, it wasn't um, the starting goalkeeper. I think he's injured, so they had a backup goalkeeper step in. And he was the man of the match for that game. He had a lot of saves, key saves to keep them in the nil-nil. Moving on to Brighton versus Fulham, a very evenly matched game there, where I mean both sides were kind of it was neck and neck in everything pretty much. Um, Brighton with an early goal. I mean, it wasn't that early, but Fulham leaving it late for that equalizer. What are your thoughts on that game?
Well, this game, I think it's two teams that actually had a transfer window that was quite uninspired. Brighton didn't buy any new, really interesting players. They mainly buy a few youth players here and there. Nothing too exciting, and obviously Fulham also hasn't really bought anyone really too exciting either. Their main players are still Iobi, Jimenez, and then they have these different pieces. Anderson is still their defender, so they're very much the same sort of team. But yeah, they were very lucky. Muniz actually is very strange. He always scores when he comes in as a sub, but he sometimes struggles as a starting player. And obviously he's being linked to Atalanta, so it's whether he'll stay. But he's definitely, I think, a good player for Fulham. But yeah, this was a game that I thought could win in the draw because of how these teams kind of are a bit uninspired. And the fact João Pedro left means I think Brighton has lost a bit of that goal edge. But we'll see how they fit in. I think eventually if Reuter picks up and Mitoma gets back in form, I think Brighton should have a better season than Fulham overall.
Yeah, you're right. Both of them didn't really sign any like key players. 1-1 in that game. Nothing more to speak about that game. Who was actually the man of the match in that game? I don't remember. Let me. Man of the match was Matt O'Reilly who scored the penalty. Okay. Um, all right, going into the big one, the big upset, Sunderland versus West Ham United. Um, wow, that was not what we expected. I mean, I predicted a Sunderland win, but I didn't expect a 3-0. I expected a 1-0 like burner of a game where they get like a sneaky goal. But Sunderland, I had a feeling that they would start off stronger than West Ham because West Ham have been struggling. Um, they lost some key players like Kudus. Um, their team just doesn't seem inspired. But Sunderland 3-0, that's a big result. The game wasn't that one-sided. It was a pretty close game. West Ham just couldn't, you know, make the chances count, and Sunderland did. So, what are your thoughts on that game?
I think this game was very interesting for Sunderland's bit. I mean, they had this Sunderland team. Obviously, I think they're an okay team. I think they're not nothing too exciting. I think Xhaka as the captain. I think he adds a bit of the very good leadership in the midfield. I think that will help them in terms of holding West Ham back. Obviously, West Ham is not the best attacking team any either way. I mean, Fulkrug has been poor ever since he came to the Premier League, and West Ham does have massive issues with forward players. I think they Callum Wilson, I think, is one of the people they bought, but he wasn't in this game. He doesn't seem to have been on the bench, unless I'm mistaken for another club. So I think they do need that striker. I mean, their striker from last year is the guy who was in the car crash, Antonio, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So they've had a big problem with that, and I think Sunderland just pipped them with some organized football, getting those balls in. So this is a very important 3 points for Sunderland for for staying in the Premier League. I think this is very important.
Yeah, and definitely the 3 goals definitely helps their goal difference as well. It is very key. It could be, I mean, it could go down to the goal difference. So a 3-0 win in the first day also brings them a lot of confidence for their challenge here. Um, Daniel Ballard was the player of the match in this game. Pretty solid defender there. Um, but let's go to the next game. Tottenham versus Burnley. I mean, more what we expected. I predicted a 3-0 for Tottenham, and they did win 3-0, which is, very nice for me. Uh, Burnley just, I don't know, they seem set for relegation. Um, just uninspiring team, and they lost their goalkeeper, who was a huge part of their defensive unit last season. Great to see Richarlison scoring 2 goals. Kudus starting off very well with 2 assists in the first game. Um, yeah, pretty promising stuff from Tottenham Hotspur, but I mean, it's against a team that looks like the worst team in the league, maybe, um, or maybe one of them. So you never know what to expect with Spurs. Sometimes they win against good teams and lose against bad teams. Good for them to start off on a positive here. But what are your thoughts on this game? Because I know Tottenham still have a lot of rumored signings coming through the door. Eze, Savinho. Um, so yeah, what are your thoughts?
I mean, Burnley is the bookies' favourite to be relegated. I probably don't want him to be in last place, actually. Scott Parker is a very defensive centric kind of manager, but this was a very poor display overall. I mean, conceding 3 goals to a team like Tottenham that lost their main attacking players. I mean, they lost Son, which has been their main goal scorer for the last few seasons. So it looks quite bad for Burnley off the onset. This is not a great defeat. I don't know if Tottenham is that good. I mean, Tottenham has a lot of injuries. That's been their problem over the last few seasons as well. Like for instance, James Madison has been out, injured early, and then obviously
Who's it?
Richarlison is someone that is very injury prone. So is he gonna stay fit? Brennan Johnson has been a good player, so and Kudus did have a good start, so things are looking good for Tottenham. But yeah, for Burnley, this is a very bad defeat, and it's whether they can actually improve against the other teams, because I think maybe a draw here would have been what Burnley wanted, an away draw to get 1 point. They played a very defensive formation, but it just didn't work. So I think they're in trouble. We'll see if they can eke out points against some weaker opposition.
All right, and the man of the match in that game was Mohamed Kudus with the 2 assists. Great game from him. And then we move on to Manchester City versus Wolverhampton Wolves. Wolverhampton Wanderers, sorry. 4-0 win to Manchester City at the Monolix Stadium, which is the home of Wolves. Pretty embarrassing stuff there from Wolves, losing 4-0 to City on their first game at home this season. And it's not like Manchester City have like they bought a lot of players. They're still gelling. So for them to go there and just smash them 4-0 is pretty scary for Wolves, but also maybe a sign that they're back. Um, Wolves I just feel like they're they were so bad. I mean, Manchester City is a good team. We'll have to see how Wolves come back. back because I know we did we put them to get relegated? I think we did. They lost a lot of good players, and yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how they do against um, better teams. I know Holland scored a brace, so 2 goals for Holland. Reiner scored one, and Cherky scored one, so debut goals for those two. The man of the match was actually Reiner's as well. So, what are your thoughts on this game here?
Yeah. I think actually put Brentford to be relegated. Just edged out Wolves a little bit. But in general, this game I think shows City are very much a side. It's strange, but they're kind of my dark. They're strange to think of Man City as a dark horse, but I think they are my dark horse for the title just because they had such a poor season last year. Let's just say they were very uninspired, and their World Cup, Club World Cup performance wasn't too great. But in general, I think the additions of Nico Gonzalez has been great. Rangers. You also have Ryan Cherky as well, and obviously Savinho might leave. And if they get Rodrigo in, that would be like a very good player to play. And that will add a lot to their attacking lineup. And obviously Oscar Bob is interesting to see Oscar Bob play again. He was injured, massive injury, didn't play almost anything last season. Just played like the first few matches, I believe. Yeah, and I think he's a good young player, and I think they did miss him. And it's quite interesting. I think this City team will be very strong, and it's quite interesting that they kept the clean sheet. That was being the main issue with City. Rico Lewis had a good game, but I think he'll still be the pretty much the biggest weakness in this team. Rico Lewis tends to be very poor at defending, and I think that's where people exploit. So I think this City side, I want to see them prove themselves against better opposition. But in general, I think I'm expecting a lot from the City team, and from Wolves, I guess this was just an awful result. It's whether just poor everywhere. The defense was just terrible. Midfield was overrun. So it's whether they can pick up the pieces and maybe like this is a really crushing home defeat and see whether their next match they can actually put on some sort of actual resistance,
Yeah,
especially in
yeah,
the midfield because they have good players. They have good players, even though they didn't really buy any too much, anything too special, but they got good players.
yeah. And another player that Manchester City bought, the left back from Wolves. What was his name? I forgot his name. Um,
Rod Nuri.
oh,
Nuri?
Ranori. Yeah. So he did pretty good in that game. Was solid performance from him back at the Wolves ground. But yeah, let's move on to Chelsea Crystal Palace. Probably one of the most disappointing games. It feels like, more goals should have happened. I mean, there was a goal disallowed, which was probably the first time ever I've seen a goal being disallowed. Like, it was a free kick from Eze. He scores, and then it's disallowed because Mark Gahey is within one. I don't know if it's 1 inch or I don't even remember what it was. One something from the wall, so it got disallowed. Pretty disappointing there. Crystal Palace probably expected to go home with all 3 points there. Chelsea just it didn't seem like they were clicking as much as they were at the FIFA Club World Cup. So interesting to see what happens with Chelsea. Um, but yeah, Crystal Palace. I mean, they might still lose 2 of their best players, so it's gonna be a tough one for them. And 3 points would have been great to take at Stamford Bridge, but they come away with 1 point. So it's still a good result for Palace, in my opinion. But we'll see what happens. Um, I would check who the man of the match is in that game. But what are your thoughts on that game?
Yeah, for this match, in general, quite uninspired. In general, it was a very much attack versus defense. It seems Chelsea had most of the ball, and they attacked, but they didn't have too many clear chances, which is quite interesting. I mean, this Chelsea side is very forward. They have a lot of let's just big name players, especially in the attack. Their new player Gittins from Dortmund, I believe. João Pedro obviously had a great Club World Cup. Palmer, Aneto. So they have very good defender. But Crystal Palace is a very tough to break down team. It's been the case ever since pretty much ever. Crystal Palace has always been very good at defending, and this is a great point to week. Good point for them. For Chelsea, is definitely a very much the disappointment. They had very much a build up of hype after the victory in the Club World Cup, and people will even put them sometimes to win the Premier League. But this is a very much a drop. Some points that they lost that they probably should have won, especially if they want to fight for the Premier League. A home losing, dropping points at home is never good for a team that wants to challenge for the Premier League. But in general, I think it's disappointing from Chelsea. Um, the attack didn't quite work. But then again, Crystal Palace, I think it's good for them to get these points early against these teams. Because if they lose Eze, which seems to be possible, and Gehi, then this team will definitely unravel and probably be possibly in the relegation battle.
Yeah, personal terms have been agreed between Margehi and Liverpool and Eze and Tottenham. So the players are already, they're already like, okay, I'm ready to go. The player of the match was actually Eze, which is interesting because maybe it's a little bit of, oh, that free kick goal disallowed. But let's go into the next game, Nottingham Forest versus Brentford. I want to say a good showing from Nottingham Forest here. 3-1 victory. Very nice. I was very impressed with them. Brentford obviously are picked to get relegated, probably like a team that you don't expect to be down there, but losing a lot of key players and their manager has definitely dropped them there. So Nottingham Forest with a good result there. What are your thoughts on that game?
This game was very much an interesting showing from Forest. I think Forest has been good at home. Last season, they were very good at home. Very difficult to beat at home. And the main aspect that was very good. I mean, Forest only lost really Elanga. They didn't lose any of their key players, especially, I mean, Anderson, Murillo, the defender, didn't leave. Aina, the left right back, I think, didn't leave. So they kept most of their good players and they bought a few new ones, and they have some more transfers coming. So Nottingham Forest is looking very upbeat. And the games here, and in this game, we have Chris Wood just showing why he kind of deserves to be that starting striker. He has these matches where he really scores quite a bit. And Gibbs White, obviously, keeping Gibbs White was very important. There were some links, I think, to Man City and a few other clubs, but in general, a very good game from Forest, where they play really their usual football, very tough to break down, fast counters, and then that man in the box there, Chris Wood, putting the ball in the back of the net, especially against this probably very frail Brentford side that's very much weakened, losing a lot of players. Wissa is trying to force his way out, so they'll struggle with that as well. Their main striker, Bemo, main goal scorer and kind of mid playmaker left. And now Wissa, they're also another one of their top strikers and playmakers is also wants to kick, force his way out. So they're in big trouble. Igor Thiago coming back, one of their I think their record signing and scoring a goal is interesting. But I think the Brentford side is very much in the relegation battle, very poor all around defensively. But getting a goal back is could be this penalty could be could make all the difference, depending on how the goal difference works. But I think they'll definitely be fighting to not be relegated.
Yeah, and man of the match, obviously Chris Wood. Nottingham Forest were crucially, they were 3-0 up by the first half, or something like that. So they were kind of like they already won the game by the time it was past the 25-minute mark. So probably eased off there and made some changes. And then we go to probably the match of the week, probably, right? Manchester United versus Arsenal, obviously playing at Old Trafford. So first game for Mwembo and Cunha for Manchester United. First start for, I think, Victor Gokers started there um, as well. So that game was kind of, I mean, it was not a pretty game by any means. There was a lot of chances. mostly for Manchester United. I think United played a better game. I think Arsenal, the set pieces worked out for us with a goal from Calafiori. Very nice stuff. Interested to see what's going to happen with the goalkeeper situation at United because Onana wasn't starting. It was the Turkish goalkeeper who I forgot his name. But yeah, I mean Manchester United they don't look too bad. They looked okay, and they don't have European competition. So maybe a team that if they start gelling well can do some work. Uh, Bit of a disappointing debut for Gyökeres. I feel like he didn't really. I think he had like 14 touches on the ball or something. It was like something really low, um, and he didn't really have any. I don't think he had. I think he had like 3 touches on the opposition box. So I don't know. Maybe he takes a little bit more time to fit in, but a little bit disappointing debut from Gyökeres, and Arsenal kind of won because of their defense. Man of the match, David Raya with really good saves. This game could have easily ended up being a Manchester United win if it wasn't for the defense. So another great show of display from Arsenal defensive unit. Manchester United struggling to score. So what are your thoughts on that game?
This game was interesting because obviously it's an away match for Arsenal, and I know Man United has been quite poor at home. They lost a lot of games last year at home. Some of them were even like really washouts that they lost really badly. But as general, I think Man United obviously added some really interesting pieces in the attack. In general, the defense hasn't changed. The midfield hasn't had much additions. So, which they're trying to buy new players for the midfield, but in general, I think Man United, Cunha and Mbeumo seem to have had like a decent matches, but obviously the goal didn't come, which is the main problem what Man United had since for last season as well. And but yeah, Arsenal just does what they do best, which is really a lot of good defending, organized, and then managing to get sneak in a goal from a set piece where they are actually really good and deadly at scoring goals from. So in general, I think yeah, Gyökeres wasn't too impressive. Martinelli not too good either. Not a great performance from Arsenal in the attacking area. But in general, a very good organized team that can eke out and win these 3 points in these very important games. So eking out getting 3 points here away from home against a team from the Big Six, Man United. That even though they're very much poorer now and very much a lot of doubt over them, it's a very important result for Arsenal, and I think they will. They're very happy with this result, and they will hopefully next week with Leeds. They managed to actually have a really good attacking display, and Gyökeres possibly scores a few goals and breaks out, or breaks his tally already, starts his tally counting.
Yeah, before we go into that Leeds Everton game, another thing I thought was interesting about the Arsenal game. I thought that Arsenal were gonna dominate the midfield. Declan Rice, Subamendi, Martin Odegaard against I mean Casemiro. He's getting to that age. Uh, I forgot the other midfielder. What his name? Ogate, I think. And I mean, it wasn't impressive. We didn't overrun them, which is what we expected. So, good display there from Manchester United's midfield. And then we go into the Leeds Everton game, which, wow, that was that was a shocking game from Everton. Um, Leeds United take the win against one of the teams that we kind of thought were going to do well this season with some good signings. Jack Grealish on loan. I mean, maybe Jack Grealish is just done. Maybe that's enough. Like he wasn't playing well either, so not really sure. But Leeds were dominant in this game in terms of shots. They had so many more shots than Everton. Everton kind of weren't doing much this game, so Leeds take the win. Uh, Gorgensen is the man of the match here, so not much to say about this game. I watched this game very briefly, but it looks like Leeds were playing at a caliber of a Premier League team, and Everton were playing at caliber of uh, like a championship team or like a relegation battle team. So
Yeah, this is an interesting match. I think Everton actually they made some good transfer decisions. I think they bought some interesting players. And Leeds, obviously, this team coming up from the Championship, they're probably the more interesting team in the Championship because they attacked more, they scored a lot more goals, they dominated more on the ball. Burnley was really just a defensive machine. They didn't concede many, and they scored and won a lot of games by 1-0. So Burnley was quite a boring team from going up, but Leeds scored a lot of goals, and they have this keeper, Lucas Perry, a very good keeper. And in general, I mean, I think Tanaka, a good Japanese player. So, but yeah, Leeds had dominated this game, which is good. I mean, 3 points at home is exactly what you need to be getting against these teams that probably are going to be in the mid-table or lower mid-table. Everton, I expect, probably won't be relegated. I think there are worse teams than them overall, but they might. But these are very three important points from Leeds against probably a team that will probably be close to them in the league rankings. So from the three teams that went up 2-1 in the first round, so this is looking like we might actually. It's very early in the season to say, but getting those 3 points early, considering a team like Southampton took so long to win or to get any points, and they struggle so badly. This might be a year where we have actually a sort of relegation battle because we haven't had one for the past 2 seasons really. The top three, the teams that came from the championship got relegated quite quickly, and like with really it's like 6 or more rounds to go.
yeah, and yeah, like you said, two of the teams that got promoted won the game. Puts a lot of pressure on these teams that have had bad results, like Brentford, Wolves, West Ham, Burnley. So yeah, that's the end of the first week. We are going to do a quick little look into a sneak peek into match week 2. We're gonna make some predictions here, and then we're going to close out. We got a big game on Monday there between Newcastle and Liverpool, but let's start at the top at the London Stadium. West Ham United versus Chelsea on Friday. So, what are your thoughts on that game? I think I'm gonna lean towards Chelsea. Even though they weren't great against Crystal Palace, West Ham seemed to be a way more open team to score against. I'm gonna predict. Let's go for a 3-0 Chelsea win here, away from home, with hopefully a John Pedro goal. Um, Esteban goal would be nice as well. And yeah,
Yeah, I would expect away winning here. I expect Chelsea to take the points. I think West Ham it's it's not looking good for West Ham. I mean, they're quite poor for losing to Sunderland away. It's quite poor, and then this Chelsea side can attack very well. They don't tend to like they're okay defensively. If this is not a Chelsea win, it will be probably a draw, maybe a 1-1 0-0. But I think Chelsea will probably win this 2-3 0.
yeah. Well, what's your match score here prediction? So we can write this down next time we do this.
Say 2-0.
Two.
I go for Ron Pedro and I go from probably Neto with maybe an Esteban assist if he comes in.
Yeah, then we have another big game here. Manchester City versus Tottenham Hotspur. Oof, that is a big game to start on Saturday. I will be asleep during that game because it's 4:30 in the morning for me. But I expect Manchester City to just about have enough to beat Tottenham. After that great display against Wolves, it's kind of like, are they a good team or are they just playing against a bad team? I'm gonna go for a 2-1 for Manchester City here. I just think they have a bit more quality. They have more off the bench, and yeah, I think they will probably be a better team in this game. And they're playing at their stadium, so
I mean, for me in this match, I think I favor City. I think City, I believe this City side is actually quite good. Tottenham had a great first match, but I think they faced some lousy opposition. And City, I think Wolves team shouldn't be that weak on paper. But yeah, I like the midfield. I think the midfield battle, I think Man City will win. And I think they will, Oscar Bob, if Oscar Bob is playing, Haaland will be there, and there'll be some, they'll probably score 3-2, I believe, with Man City winning. With Tottenham showing like some good fight. So I think this will be a close and well contested match.
All right, going into the next game, I'll let you put in your remarks first and your prediction, and then I'll go second. So we have a little bit of differential. We're at Bournemouth versus Wolverhampton Wanderers.
Wolves versus Bournemouth. Wolves versus Bournemouth. So Bournemouth, obviously, they faced the champions and they put up a good fight. And Wolves got smashed by City. I think this game is likely going to be a Bournemouth win. I think Semenyo is going to show up to show some good power. I think Wolves have very bad defending, and this has been the case from last season as well. So we're expect a 2-1 in with a goal from Semenyo and Evan Nilsson, and maybe Larsen for Wolves. So expect Wolves to lose again.
Yeah, I'm gonna say a 2-0 to Bournemouth. I just feel like Wolves. I mean, maybe they'll score, but I feel like they weren't very close to hitting the back of the net against City. So, and I think Bournemouth. I mean, they have a. I could see Wolves scoring a goal. I just have a feeling that Bournemouth played very well against Liverpool, so I'm hoping for a big result there.
And the thing, just noting one thing here, it's quite interesting that Kluivert, he didn't play against Liverpool, and he's obviously the captain and probably one of the best players from Bournemouth, which is quite interesting. I don't believe he played against Liverpool, so that's even more like an interesting aspect. He might not play the game
Yeah, maybe he won't play.
against
Maybe I don't know.
Liverpool,
Maybe a little injury or
but
something.
I mean that's something Bournemouth. It's very interesting for Bournemouth side that actually they have good players. Even though they already have a good team, they have good players and they're a bit injured and they might come back. I mean, Kluivert is a big piece.
Yeah, last season he had a really great season. And then we go over to Brentford versus Aston Villa, which I mean, I believe Aston Villa will bounce back and get a, a 2-0 win. Aston Villa versus Brentford. I think that Aston Villa were kind of they didn't play that well against Newcastle, but Newcastle were very good. Um, so yeah, I mean I think Brentford is a way easier opponent. So I think that they will win that game 2-0. Keep a clean sheet again.
I think this game, it'll be interesting. Villa had such an embarrassing game in the first round. It was quite interesting because obviously they played at home, and Aston Villa was actually really strong at home last season, and that was some of the things that was quite embarrassing. And away, Brentford is quite a weak team. I don't expecting much from them, but I kind of sensing a draw here. I'm sensing a 1-1. Brentford sneaking out a point. I think Villa is just gonna suffer. I feel this season with I think the tougher match schedule, and the lack of backups that they have in their team. They need
Yeah, I
to
mean
do
I
a
could
bit
see
more.
that.
We'll see.
I,
But you
I
see, but we'll see. I think it's more of like a feeling that I think the Aston Villa. I think it's very possible that they win, but I'm just like I feel like putting a draw here, just like a bit of a coin toss.
all right, and then we have the two newly promoted teams face up against each other. Burnley versus Sunderland. A game that, oof, I think Sunderland are going to be very happy with. They're gonna. I mean, they had a clean sheet against West Ham, and Burnley are probably a way worse team on paper. So I'm thinking Sunderland will win again. I'm gonna put them down to win by 2-0 though, because I know a lot of 2-0s here, but I think they will win against their counterpart here. Um, I just think Sunderland have better players. Their defense is stronger now. I think James Trafford was a really big part about why Burnley was so good. Um, I think Sunderland just great display, and I saw that I think they signed another player today, so looking forward to it.
So this is another one that I think if Burnley could eke out a draw here. I think yeah, Sunderland had a much better first game. They actually managed to overwhelm and beat the West Ham team, even though the scoreline feels like it was more one-sided than it actually was. Burnley, I think Scott Parker knows this matchup. He played this before, and Burnley usually beat Sunderland in the championship in last season. So I think Scott Parker will probably play a more tight, chasing down the ball, very much a boring football, and then this will probably end in like a 0-0. I think this will be the worst game of the round, this round.
All
So I'm
right.
guessing a draw there, which will be good for Sunderland. Terrible for Burnley to draw at home, but
Alright, and then we go to the next game, Arsenal versus Leeds United. Leeds had a really good display in the first match day, but I think Arsenal are going to be a little bit stronger than them and take this win. I'm sensing, ooh, I'm sensing, let's say a 2-0, 2-0 for Arsenal here. I think that they
yeah, I think
will show a little bit more cutting edge in that forward line, and their defensive unit is very strong.
yeah, I'm definitely expecting a clean sheet for Arsenal here. I don't think Leeds will score a goal here. Very unlikely, my wise. I think the main thing here will be what will Arteta change, or will he do a little things in the top and the attacking three because of how they seemed uninspired against United. Obviously, this is much weaker opposition, and this game will be one where Arsenal will be looking to dominate. So how is this gonna work? Are they gonna fit in those three? Are they gonna take out Gabriel Martinelli and put Madueke in? What's gonna happen there in the because it seems like he might get the priority over Trossard now. But I'm interested to see. I'm expecting this to be like a 2-0 victory, and I think Perry will have a lot of work. I think Arsenal will attack a lot in this match. I think they'll find a lot of. They'll be able to break down the midfield and get a lot of balls in to to all the attacking players, and I think he'll be a Gyökeres brace. But Perry will make a lot of saves to stop this from being a much wider defeat.
Alright, and then we go to Saturday. Oh, sorry, Sunday. We have Crystal Palace versus Nottingham Forest, and I think this might be the first result that I'm gonna give to. I don't know. It's not the first result, but I'm gonna say Nottingham Forest are gonna take this game against Crystal Palace. I expect Crystal Palace to have already lost two of their players by that time. Um, well, maybe they still have a few days, but I think Nottingham Forest had a great display against Brentford. I think Crystal Palace really struggled to break down Chelsea, and I think Chelsea's defense is good, but I feel like Nottingham Forest's defense is also good. So I think this is gonna be um, a 2-1 for Forest.
Yeah, I expect in this game. I think you'd think a draw would be likely, but I think if Crystal Palace does lose Eze and Guihi, or at least one of them, I think Eze leaves. I think that's a big thing because that's his main. He's the kind of the engine in the attack there. So I think that's the main problem if he leaves. In terms of Forest, I mean, they got a lot of attacking pieces. They have new players coming in, so Forest has everything to play for. I mean, this could be a 2-1-0 game. I think it will be 1-0.
1-0 for
I think
Forest.
Forest wins this game, keeps a clean sheet because there's Mateta. I don't think will get the ball, and I think he'll be pretty much muscled out of the way by the Malinkovic and Murillo, the great power up.
Alright, we're going to Everton and Brighton, and this game for me is going to be a draw. I think both these teams uh, had an underwhelming first game, and I think it's gonna be a 1-1 draw between these two teams. I think Brighton, like you said, they didn't really sign many players. They didn't improve their starting 11. They lost João Pedro, which was one of their goal scorers. Danny Welbeck kind of struggled in that first game. Uh, Everton seemed to. I expect a better result from Everton since they're now playing at their home. I believe last time they played away. Um,
And
it's their
their new stadium, I believe. Yeah, in
yeah,
their new
and their new
stadium, I think.
stadium as well, which I think a 1-1 draw is a good result for them against a team that I think is decent. So, yeah.
Yeah, this game is interesting. I think it does say here for me that Braithwaite might be doubtful. He might not play, and I think that's a key defender for Everton. But I still think Everton, Moyes, I think will play a very much a back team. I think he will probably play it a bit safer. And I think the main problem with this Everton side is the lack of goals. That they seem to struggle with the goals. They bought some good players, but they seem to not struggle with goals. And Brighton in general also will probably struggle with goals. So this could easily be a 0-0, but I think it will be a 1-1 as well.
1-1. Okay, okay. And then we
Just
go.
to just a boring match. I think it will be
And
very
then
boring.
I'll let you go first in this Fulham Manchester United because this is an interesting game. This is an interesting game, and I think I'm interested to see your thoughts on this game.
So this Fulham match, it's interesting. I've been to the Fulham ground. I watched Fulham, and they're very very lovely. The fans of Fulham. In general, I think the main problem with this Fulham team is that they seem to struggle to get the goals. I think Raúl Jimenez is still the main striker, and obviously he's kind of 34. He's like aging. He's been there for quite a long time in the Premier League as well. Right, he was in Newcastle before, I believe. But in general, I think this game could be a surprise. I think Fulham could actually win this. I think Fulham is a tough team to break down. They're always kind of hard to beat for the big teams because they're very, very tough to beat. And this is Man United's time to prove themselves. I mean, the Cunha and Mbembo, Sesko, this is their time to shine. But I think this will be a 2-2 game. I think Fulham will get a goal with Iobi or Jimenez and like a set piece or something. Because of Man United's defense, I think is still shaky. So in general, I think this will likely be a 2-2 draw.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about a draw, but the more I think about it, I think Fulham. I think I'm gonna predict Fulham to win this game. I'm predicting Fulham to win 2-1 to Fulham. My reasoning is pretty much. I think United are still going to be struggling for goals. I think their defense is still a little shaky. And they're playing at Fulham's ground, so Fulham tend to be good at their ground. So we'll see how that game goes. And that moves on to the last game of the match week, Newcastle versus Liverpool. And you can start again. Um, so yeah, go ahead.
So this Newcastle team, it's interesting. Obviously, Isaac is trying to get poached by Liverpool, and you have this Newcastle side hasn't really sold many of their pieces. Really, they got their midfield, their set midfield there, very hard. Harvey Barnes had great. Anthony Gordon. They brought in Alanga, interesting piece. I think the main problem with this Newcastle side is the lack of goals. I think the lack of Isaac. I think this take he took a lot of the goals last season. He had over 20. Obviously, that's a big load of goals that you lose by having this player out, and you didn't buy anyone really to replace him. You also got rid of Callum Wilson as well, so so you have that sort of piece missing as well. So you kind of have very much a lack of goals in Newcastle side. Liverpool have all their pieces. They have Salah. I think will be more not as good this season. I expect him to score way less than he did last season. Ugo Ekitike, I think, is a dangerous player. But I think this Newcastle side will be very tough to break down. I think that midfield, Tonali, Joelinton, Bruno Guimaraes would just really put the pressure up and they'll take the ball. So I think this will end up as a kind of a draw. I think this could be a 1-1
1-1, huh?
or a 2-1 for Liverpool, not the most, but I think I'm leaning towards a 1-0, a 1-1.
Okay, between Newcastle and Liverpool. Um, Oof, that's a tough game. I mean, Liverpool conceded a lot. Maybe they're a bit more open, more exploited. I actually think Newcastle are gonna take this game. Uh, I think their midfield is going to be really solid. I think their defense was very solid. I think that if they fix up a few things in the forward line, also we don't know what's going on with Isaac, but at some point they're gonna either sell Isaac or they're gonna keep him or they're gonna buy someone else. So I'm thinking that this game is gonna be a high scoring game because Newcastle they they're good defensively, but Liverpool are very strong offensively. I think it's kind of like defense versus attack. Um, I'm gonna go for a 2-1. I said it was gonna be a high scoring game, but um, I think Liverpool's gonna get shut out a little bit defensively. Their midfield, I think, like you said, Joe Linton, Bruno G, Sandro Tonali, very physical players that are gonna go there and push you around and try and take the ball. I think Newcastle could have scored 2 goals against Aston Villa, but I think it was just bad finishing. So I'm hoping they'll, you know, get better, gel more together, and hopefully they will have a good game. So yeah, that's our predictions. We'll review them next week to see how we have done, and maybe we'll do like a point system where if you get the correct score, it's like 3 points or 2 points, and if you pick the right team to win, you get 1 point or something like that. We'll figure it out. Now we can go into our fantasy league. So if you can put your team on the Discord, I can show it to the on the sh- on the recording, and I will get my one up here as well, so we can get ready to talk about it. Um, I have mine up actually right here. So this is my team. Let me fix that. That is my team, and this is Igor's team. Let me add that too.
Let's say we have similar players, I would say.
This is Igor's team right here. I'm gonna take myself out of here so you guys can see the. So yeah, like you said, we look at the teams here. Our goalkeepers. You have who's that? I can't even see, man. It's so small. You have
Henderson.
Henderson
Henderson and Perry.
and Perry. I have Raya and Perry, so very similar on there. And then our back line. Uh, You have Murillo starting. You have White, Cucurella, and Gabriel. I have Ballard, Gabriel, Gahey, which is one that I'm thinking, and Patrick Doru. I think Doru was a standout player for Manchester United. So I on the bench I have Mikko, oh, Milo. I don't remember how to say his name.
Milenkovic.
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 Yeah, I picked him over Murillo just for the fact that he will score more headers. So I'm hoping for more points there. Um, I have and then in our forward line, for I saw the formation. You change it up a little bit. You have a 4-4-2. I have a 4-3-3. I have Semenyo in the midfield because I think he had a great game. And he's playing at Wolves at home, so I think it's a good chance. I got Reiners. You also have Reiners and Semenyo, so that's pretty cool. I have Cunha. You also have Cunha. That's crazy. I have Mateus Kudus on the bench, You have Matt O'Reilly and Anderson, who's from Fulham. I have Zubamendi from
Richarlison.
yeah,
You
and then
have
you have
Richarlison.
Rich
Yeah.
Richarlison in that forward line on the bench. I don't have any one not on the bench, but I have João Pedro on the forward line. You also have João Pedro. I have Hugo Ekitike because I think he's just so big and tall, man. That guy's crazy. You have Victor Gyökeres, and then I have Haaland up top as well, because I think Haaland's gonna have a great season. And yeah, I don't. Who did I captain? Oh, so my captain is Haaland. I can put a vice captain as well. Oh, I'll put him as my vice captain. Vice captain is gonna be Semenyo. Your captain is Gyökeres. And what is that star? What does that mean? Don't know what that
It's
star.
the
Team of the week. Who was on the team of the week?
yeah, the right team. Yeah.
But yeah, we both have very similar teams. Like you said, a lot of similar players. Similar teams. I'm interested to see. You have Ben White there. I feel like Ben White hasn't been playing as much. Cucurella is a good one though, underrated player. Cherky, very good player as well. Um,
Yeah, I
so
think some of the yeah Ben White is a it's more of a player I wanted to fill in. I think someone I'll definitely swap out quite quickly. I think Chucky, if he doesn't start, because he didn't start the previous game, he was in the bench, but I think he will become a starter. I think he's probably gonna play in the midfield. I think he'll take Mateo. I forget the name of the Portuguese player. I think he'll take his spot in the starting lineup
yeah, and then we
in the
have
City lineup.
the Portuguese player.
Forget the name. I just know it blanked out by mind. The midfielder who's been in City for a while.
Oh, I know you're talking about the guy from he was Wolves, right?
No, not the one that Wolves. The one who's been the one at Wolves is a bench player as well. Mateus Nunes. It's the other Portuguese guy.
I can't remember his name right now, but we also have the league. If you guys want to join the league, yeah, we have a league. Let me.
Bernardo Silva. That's it.
Oh,
That's what I
Bernardo
said.
Silva. Yeah. So, yeah. So if you guys want to join, I'll put the code in the description. But we haven't started it yet. We've literally made our teams this week. Fan club. You're a fan of Fulham? That's
I
cool.
just put Fulham, but let's just say.
I'll put Arsenal.
But in,
Yeah, we're interested to see what's gonna happen this season. Very exciting stuff. Um, my team looks deadly, man. My team looks deadly. I would like to think that I have one of the best teams. We're gonna see how many points I get. I mean, it doesn't link up with my predictions because I put, I did put, I mean, I put Liverpool to lose. So I don't know. I guess both of the best of both worlds. So if they lose, if they win, I get points there. If they win, then I get points here. So yeah, very pleased with my team. Your team looks good too. Gonna be interesting. I have some doubts about uh, Zubamendi. I feel like maybe I should have picked an attacking midfielder because they're gonna score goals. But you never know. Arsenal tends to get a lot of goals from midfield, so we'll see. And your team, I mean,
yeah,
pretty solid team as well. Um, yeah,
I think Haaland is a very good. I think you have better strikers. I think Haaland is definitely more proven, kind of more proven than Gyökeres. And then obviously Hugo has already had a really good start, which I mean I put Richarlison because it's more of a bet because I know he's so injury prone that he could easily get injured against Man City and then be out for until September until January. So you never know with Richarlison. He has good times, but I think now he should be starting most games. He should be the target man, which is what he usually likes to do. So to
Yeah,
see.
I'm
I'd watch.
surprised. I'm surprised none of us went for Salah or Cole Palmer or anything like that. But very interesting stuff to see. Well, we'll come back to this when we next week as well to see how we have done in comparison to the points in the league. So if you guys do want to join the league, I'll put the invite code in the description. So any final thoughts from you?
I'm just looking forward to seeing, especially I think Leeds. I think this is the Arsenal's time to break out and Gyökeres to really start scoring. Because Ugo has been, I think, more exciting for Liverpool in the friendlies on this first debut. We'll see if Gyökeres. I think that's what I'll be watching this weekend. See if Gyökeres manages to break out and score a few goals and start his tally.
Yep, that is very good. And yeah, we'll see for more transfers. There might be a few changes in the team. For example, if Gehi leaves, then obviously I will take him out of the team because he's not going to be starting for Liverpool. But I think for you, you don't have anyone who's pending a transfer. I know Matt O'Reilly was rumored to go to a different team, but I don't know if that's going to happen now. But pretty much a solid team for you, solid team for me. Let's see when we come back next week after the fixtures. So stay tuned and leave anything down in the comments of what you think, who has the better team, and we'll catch you guys next time.